in Daniel chapter 6, verses 19 through 24. At the first light of dawn, the king got up and hurried to the lion's den. When he came near the den, he called to Daniel in an anguished voice, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions? Daniel answered, May the king live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me because I was found innocent in his sight, nor have I ever done anything wrong before you, your majesty. The king was overjoyed and gave orders to lift Daniel out of the den. And when Daniel was lifted from the den, no wound was found on him because he had trusted in his God. At the king's command, the men who had falsely accused Daniel were brought in and were thrown into the lion's den, along with their wives and children. And before they reached the floor of the den, the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. Again, that's Daniel chapter 6, verses 19 through 24. Prayer shuts the mouths of lions. The psalmist King David faced some lions, a lion and a bear, trying to steal his sheep, as well as lions, enemies who were attacking him. Though he was brave and devout, he found himself facing off against adversaries on four legs and two. He prayed and asked God to fight with those who were fighting him, and he fasted and prayed as he asked God to rescue him. Daniel is also admired in the scriptures for this type of prayer and held up for us an example of faith. His faith shut the mouths of lions. Yet both of these heroes of the faith found themselves face to face with enemies. We too find ourselves squaring off against adversaries, but ours usually don't have fur and claws. If we want to successfully face our lions, we've got to discover prayer in a new way. If you want faith like David and Daniel, you've got to have prayers like David and Daniel. It's not just a technique as if the right formula or acronym is going to save us in the lion's den. Rather than a technique, this kind of prayer is a hunger fueled by your fasting and a diligence matched by your focus. In the book of Daniel, there are many amazing stories, miracles, and prophecies, but at the forefront is the peculiar way in which God answers Daniel's prayers. It's central to the story. Daniel expressed his faith in the living God through diligent and regimented daily prayers. For him, praying was a way of life. It was spiritual breathing and refreshment. Nothing and nothing. No, I'm sorry. Nobody and nothing, even a law warranting death, would stop Daniel's persistent prayers. He sought guidance regarding what to do about the unjust law. He prayed about praying and asked God for help. And then he was discovered, caught, and arrested in the very act of prayer. We don't know what Daniel prayed on the way to the lion's den, but we know that long before the trouble hit, Daniel had already spent time close to God in prayer. He did not try to fight back, he simply trusted God. Today, we saw the results of that trust. They tossed Daniel into a hole full of hungry lions, and in the morning, they pulled him out unharmed. Daniel received the answer to his prayers, an angelic lion tamer who kept the hungry beasts from eating him. If your life was in the balance and prayer was certain to be the death sentence, would you still pray? Today is the day to answer that question as a part of your Daniel fast. If prayer has not historically been a big part of your life, your time learning to fast like Daniel is the perfect opportunity. Prayer must become your steering wheel and not your spare tire. Whatever you're facing, and I'm guessing it is not quite as dire as Daniel's situation, your faith can be just as persistent. You can learn to pray like Daniel and ask God to shut the mouths of your lions. If you want faith that shuts the mouths of lions, faith that God responds to, then you've got to have prayers like Daniel.